I'd like to call the meeting of the Marlington Local School District Board of Education to order at 7 p.m. on Thursday, January 20th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reading of the mission statement, Mrs. Kathy Krupko.
In collaboration with staff, community, parents, and students, the Marlington Local School District will develop lifelong learners who understand and apply knowledge and demonstrate excellence in pursuing the highest standards with effective intervention to challenge every student.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hagan,
Here.
Mrs. Humphreys,
Here.
Mrs. Krupko,
Here?
Mr. Ryan,
Here.
Mr. Swift.
Here.
Adoption of the meeting agenda. Is there a motion for the Marlington Local Board of Education to adopt the following agenda for January 20th, 2022?
So move.
Second.
Could I make a change to the last two items on the agenda? Move the informational meeting and the next Board of Education meeting date before executive session, just so we can announce that
Yes.
before we go into executive session.
Do we need to make that a change? I mean, do we need to make that an official change?
Yeah, technically, you should probably adopt the agenda and then additions and corrections if you want to be exactly technical.
Okay, so adopt the agenda and then ask for a change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So we'll call the roll. Is it, unless there's, well, no, we'll call the roll.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphreys,
Yes.
Mrs. Krupko,
Yes.
Okay, I move to change the last two items, or item G, next Board of Education meeting, the two items that are underneath that heading, informational meeting and next Board of Education meeting date, to follow or to precede executive session. That's a motion.
Could we add one other change to that, please? Regretfully, Mrs. Cayley has a family emergency, so she had a great presentation for you, but I'd like to ask you if we could move that to next time. So 2 corrections to the agenda.
Noted.
Yes.
Second.
So, for the amended agenda, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphreys,
Yes.
Mrs. Krupko,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Special presentations.
Madam President,
Yes.
I'd just like to be recognized for a moment. I want to make a clarification on some statements that were made at the December 16th board meeting by a former school board member in regards to our cross-country team. Since then, we have, Dr. Mike has talked with Marlboro Police Department and the Starr County Sheriff, and there are no pending charges, and there is no ongoing investigation into anyone that is a student here at Marlington currently in regards to the accusations that were made at the December 16th meeting. And I want to congratulate the boys for their hard work all season long and wish them a future success in all their upcoming seasons. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Special presentations.
Okay, good evening, everybody. And just so everybody knows, we have recorded tonight, but next month we're planning to move these back in person. So one more time, we'll go with the recording. And so Ben, take it away.
Hello, I'm Mike Farrell, high school principal, and I'm here with Allison Landon to recognize her as one of our Elks Students of the Month at the high school. Allison is the daughter of Rick and Dawn Landon. She is a member of National Honor Society, has been a member of Character Counts Club and Rotary Interact Club for 4 years and is a 2021 Buckeye Girls State delegate. Allison is a 4-year letter winner and captain on the varsity tennis and track and field teams. She is an active member of the Alliance Friends Church. In her free time, Allison enjoys hanging out with family and friends and working at Hidden Hill Kennel. She plans to attend Waynesburg University to study environmental science. Message from her teachers. Allison possesses many positive qualities. She's extremely polite and respectful at all times. She is courteous and friendly and gets along well with others. She is honest and trustworthy, and the pillars of character are displayed in all areas of her life. She is a young lady of integrity and has earned the respect of her peers and the staff at our school alike. In addition to being an Elks Teen of the Month, Allison has also been selected as a quarterfinalist for the 2022 Elks National Foundation Most Valuable Student Scholarship. It is my honor to present Allison this certificate of award as Elks Student of the Month at MHS. Congratulations, Allison. Thank you. Hello again, I'm now joined by Connor Jackson, and he's being recognized as our other Elks Student of the Month at the high school. Connor is the son of Chip and Melanie Jackson. He is a member of National Honor Society and has been active with the Boy Scouts of America since 2011. He is an Eagle Scout, senior patrol leader, and has completed over 300 service hours for the last 4 years. A member of the Order of the Arrow and a National Youth Leadership trainee. Connor has been field commander for the Marching Dukes of Marlington for 2 years. He is first chair trumpet, brass section leader, and a member of the jazz and concert bands. Connor enjoys camping, fishing, snowboarding, and just spending time outdoors. Connor has accepted a presidential scholarship for the University of Akron, where he plans to major in computer engineering and continue his marching career with both the University of Akron and Kalamazoo Legends Marching Band. Message from his teachers. Connor is the type of student who does not just think outside the box. He does so in such an effective way, that he cannot help but get his peers to do the same. Watching his peers look up to him and seek his guidance in the classroom is truly inspiring. His skill as a student is remarkable, but what is most noteworthy about Connor is his character. He is a strong writer with a stronger work ethic to master skills the first time so that no corrections are needed later. But his ability to lead quietly and to make statements others might fear saying aloud is what is most commendable about Connor. He has certainly earned this honor. It is my honor to present Connor this certificate of award as Elks Student of the Month at Marlington High School. Congratulations, Connor. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Our middle school students of the month start with 8th grader Nikki Houston. Nikki is a daughter of Karen Strode and Tony Houston. Her favorite classes are math and art. In her free time, she enjoys painting, and she is also going to be one of the news anchors for our Friday video news program. Nikki's teachers had this to share about her. Nikki always works hard and has her work done on time. I also appreciate the great care she has in making sure she does great work. Nikki is a conscientious student who always has her work done well. She's a talented student, and she has improved throughout the year. She is kind to others and is a positive influence in the classroom. And another teacher said, Nikki is hardworking and persistent. I have loved watching her grow as a student this year. Nikki is a creative, calm, and conscientious young lady who gives her best every day. And lastly, Nikki does a great job every day on staying on task, being caught up on her Spanish studies, and she's really very diligent with her work. Congratulations, Nikki. Keep up the great work. Our next student of the month is 8th grader David White. David is the son of Rob and Gina White. His favorite class is American History with Mr. Middleton. He's also taking 2 high school courses, including Algebra 1 and Spanish. He enjoys playing games inside and outside during his free time and visiting friends. He also enjoys reading. His favorite books are the Harry Potter books, and he has read all of them. He also will be a part of our Friday video news crew. David's teachers had this to share about him. David White is an extremely nice young man who always has his work done on time and is always one to volunteer in the class and share answers. David brightens the room when he enters it. He shows outstanding respect and responsibility. Another teacher, David is a hard worker and a kind soul. He enthusiastically participates in class and enjoys learning new things. Lastly, David is a top-notch student in Spanish with great class participation, always willing to volunteer. I commend his work ethic, his knowledge, and his willingness to use his language skills. Congratulations, David. Keep up the great work. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Rayon Norman, and I'm the school counselor at Lexington Elementary. I have the honor of presenting our January Kiwanis Student of the Month certificate to Kason Gowan. I want to read a few things about what Kason's teachers have said about him. He was selected as a Student of the Month because he is a responsible and respectful Duke. He always completes his homework and studies for tests, all while participating in multiple extracurricular activities like football, swimming, golf, and basketball. He also likes to play outside in his free time. Kason is kind-hearted and treats all of his classmates and the staff at Lexington with consideration. He brings an appreciated sense of humor and positive attitude to our school each day. Thank you for always doing your best and helping others to smile. Congratulations, Kason.
Good evening, Marlington community. I'm Mrs. Ford. I'm the principal of Marlboro Elementary, and I have the distinct pleasure to introduce to you our Kiwanis Student of the Month for Marlboro Elementary, Mr. Carter McGrady. Some things about Carter from his teachers. Carter was selected as the Kiwanis Student of the Month because of his willingness to be a leader and his amazing work ethic. Carter is a positive, take charge kind of student who not only leads but guides others in whatever they are doing. He also works really hard in all academic areas, and his efforts are visible while working in class and through his grades. He is an outstanding example to all younger students with our Duke pride expectations. Carter, keep working hard, buddy. Some more things about Carter. Math is his favorite subject. He lives with his dad, Brian, his mom, Jen, sister, Brielle, and little brother, Grayson. And they have 2 dogs and a cat. His family loves to go to the beach. In the future, Carter wants to travel, and he specifically wants to go to Hawaii and Fiji. And when Carter is not in school, he is playing sports. He's a very, very busy guy. He plays baseball for the Manchester A's, and football and basketball for the Marlington Dukes. And he is fabulous at everything that he does. And we're very appreciative that he's a student here at Marlboro Elementary, and again, our January Kiwanis Student of the Month.
Good evening. I'm Mr. Spondale, principal at Washington, and our student of the month for this month is Isa Valverde. Isa is a 5th grader here at Washington in Mrs. Craig's homeroom. Her teachers have some wonderful things to say about her. Isa is an incredible student, leader, and friend in our classroom. She is kind to others, gives her best effort on tasks, and continues to push herself to create and explore at all times. Isa's sense of humor keeps our classroom fun and lighthearted, but she also is an impressively hard worker when it's time to be serious. We are so proud of how hard she has worked and continues to work. Isa also is a member of the STEAM Club and has recently joined the band where she is a flute player. She is dedicated to academics and is always thinking about ways to improve our classroom, the school, and the experiences of her peers. Her kindness and willingness to help others are 2 of her best qualities. At school, Isa's favorite subject is math. She enjoys spending time with her family and likes to have movie nights on either Thursday or Friday night. She has an older sister and an older brother at home. When she's done with school, Isa would like to be a teacher and would love to travel to Costa Rica again. In her spare time, she likes to draw and likes to sing, but she does not like to sing out loud, so let's keep that to herself. She also loves animals, and her favorite animal is a cheetah. Congratulations, Isa. Well done.
Thank you.
That was exciting.
Congratulations to those students. Board Appreciation Month, Dr. Mike.
Okay, good evening again, everyone. In Ohio, January is designated Board Appreciation Month. So this is one of my opportunities to represent the community to all of you. And I always tell folks, being a board member is a labor of love. You really don't get paid to do the job. It's a lot of work, a lot of phone calls, a lot of evenings, and a lot of tough decisions. So we applaud you, all of you, for taking on this challenge. And we respect the work that you do for our kids and for our community. So OSBA has helped to provide a certificate for all of you. And really, on behalf of the community, Patty and I say thank you so much for the work that you do. So I've got for each of our board members, Mrs. Karen Humphreys,
Thank you.
Mr. Josh Hagan,
Thank you.
Mr. Jonathan Swift,
Thank you.
Mr. Mark Ryan,
Thank you.
and Mrs. Kathy Krupko.
Thank you.
Thank you. How about a round of applause? Okay.
Thank you very much. Public participation, was there anyone who signed up to speak?
No one signed up to speak.
Okay. That takes us to number 2 then, under old business. So in December, we had the first reading of the following board policies. And the book of these policies is in your board docs. So tonight, we have the second and final reading for these board policies. And once again, I'll reiterate, since we had kind of a switchover, often change in board policy just comes from Columbus, from the legislature, so once in a while from ODE, or both. And on these, there's nothing earth-shattering, very little that we got to choose. It's just a matter of they tell us what we have to do and we put it into policy.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone this and send it to our policy committee,
Okay?
and put it back on the agenda then again next month.
Okay?
Just because it's a new committee and it gives them a chance to get a little more familiar with these policies and the revisions in them. And some of the titles of them are pretty hefty. There's a couple of them on weapons and public
Yep.
participation at board meetings. And I just think it would behoove us to just take an extra bit of time and let our policy committee do that. So my
Okay.
motion is to to send this to committee first.
Okay, we didn't do a motion first to accept these, so.
So we didn't have a motion to accept, right?
Right.
No.
So, yeah, so just, we need a second then, correct, to postpone
Okay.
and send to committee.
So
I'll second it. I think Jonathan and I are on
Are the,
the committee,
yeah.
so,
Yeah, we can get together in the next week
Yeah.
or two.
okay.
fine.
Get with Patty about posting don't we have to post a
We do. Yeah.
meeting
Where-
notice?
Where 2 or more are gathered, you have to
Would
post.
that be a meeting with Renee?
Renee, we'll bring Renee in and myself as
Okay.
well. And usually we have our Neola guy then, he beams in under, through via whatever, Zoom or whatever. So we'll see if he can.
Okay.
And then I'll talk to you guys. So today, the spring book came out. So I'll talk to you guys. Do you want 2 separate meetings or how do you want to do?
What do you mean by the spring?
So now they do this in the fall and then in the spring. So this revisions for spring now have come out. So we'll probably better to do them separately, but,
Makes sense?
Yeah, we
okay.
can do that.
Okay,
I'll go with Patty and Mark and we'll schedule something.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Mrs. Humphreys?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Passed. 5-0.
Levy discussion. We just wanted to have some more conversation about the need for the levy and just to put out there whatever board members are thinking or wanting to discuss. So who has a question or a comment or something?
Well, I'll start it. There was, you sent an email about your concerns as superintendent being involved, so I don't know if that, I had sent a note to Patty, add that to the executive session, because
Okay.
it could fall under legal matters, but we need to address that. My concern is I don't want to cut off communication to a potential chairman or chairpersons that are in charge of that. You know, if they have a question, you're going to be the one they're going to ask,
Sure,
or
sure.
Patty. So there should be
Sure.
some communication there. And
Yep.
the way your email read, it sounds like we shouldn't do that at all. But I think that might be an overreaction. But maybe talking about an executive session, you can explain more of the
I think
legalities around it.
I think so, yeah.
And then the other issue, I just, my thought is, or has anyone thought about, or have you thought about who or what that chair or that committee would look like? I'm thinking 2 people running that campaign would be more beneficial than 1, just because there's a lot of work to be done, and if 2 people are sharing it, and then we would need to come up with potential people to do it.
Yeah, in the past, when I've been in districts, usually they have 2 co-chairs. There's usually co-chairs, and then someone has to be the treasurer. So
There you go.
that's a
So
very
one could be
good
the treasurer,
suggestion.
one could be the,
No, usually we have 3 people.
so it'd be 3,
2
okay,
that co-chair,
okay, right.
and 1 that's the
so
designated
you'd have to have
treasurer.
3, right. How do you want to spearhead that? Do you want us to give you names after the meeting tonight? Say, here, call these people? Do you want a board member to do that?
I think in light of some new Ohio regulations, board members are going to have to approach those people, and, I mean, please bring me in the loop, but I think it would be better if board members ask those folks.
We had discussed, I hope this is, we had discussed having a community meeting with representatives from each of the township trustees, the fire chiefs, and the Marlboro Police Chief. We used to have, and this was years ago, I don't know when we stopped doing it, we used to have a community action group meeting the 5th Monday of the month, which happened twice a year. And what happened is we had a township representative, the townships each sent 1 trustee, and the chiefs of police and fire came to that meeting as well. And we did things, and we talked about what's going on with the schools, what's going on with their road projects, what's going on with their fire levies. We also worked together in concert, looking at when everyone was putting levies on the ballot, so we not tax people too much. And I think that we've lost that communication with the community a little bit over the years. And so we'd like to put together, probably towards the end of February, an evening where 2 representatives from the school board meet with several representatives from each of the townships. And we'd like to have a presentation by then of what the need is. Here's the revenue. Our revenue has gone flat, or in some cases down. And so that we can share that with other community leaders, so they at least can make their own decision instead of just hearing speculation from this person or that person in the phone tree of rumors and gossip.
I think that's a really good idea.
Isn't that what's on the agenda under G?
It is.
Oh, did I?
It is.
G1.
Did I?
Pulled it way forward, but that's okay. That was good. That explained it really well. Jonathan.
I'm sorry.
You're on it.
That's okay.
Yeah, you're
It all goes as part of the levy
Oh, it's
discussion.
G1. Well, we said we
It's
were
part of
talking
the
about
levy.
Yeah, it's
That's
part of the
right.
levy
It's fine. We're right. Good.
If I could make a suggestion, I'm wondering if we should maybe set that meeting or take a look at when trustees, I don't remember each township when they meet, because we won't get everybody, if we start asking, well, what day do you want it, what day do you want it?
I think
what
Thursday
do you
is
think?
typically a safe meeting because
Okay.
most of the townships meet Mondays, Tuesdays.
Right. Yes.
I think both of Lexington and Marlboro meet Tuesdays.
No,
and
Marlboro's
Mondays.
Monday.
Lexington meets Tuesdays. Washington and Marlboro
Monday.
meet on Monday. Lexington meets on Tuesday.
Right.
Okay.
But I think we should have a campaign chairman too, and a treasurer long before this informational.
I agree. Just so you know, Mr. Ryan, we've been talking about that. And as far as I know, no one's come forward. I can
Well,
tell you
I don't
that.
think anybody's asked.
Yeah.
Back in the fall, when that was being discussed, I had talked to a few people that were in that arena
Okay.
of passing, being involved in levy campaigns. So I have a few ideas
Okay.
who could be asked. At the time, they weren't interested, but you could put pressure on them. Pretty please.
Well, we've got February, I mean, do we want to just try to
Let's do
set?
it.
We've
Let's
got
do it.
February 10th. I
Yeah,
think
the
better,
earlier the better.
the sooner than the later. How about the Thursday, the 10th? Probably 7 o'clock. We can meet here if that works.
So
Does
so
that-
this has to do with the informational meeting? Is that-
Does that give us enough time to, actually notify trustees, and
It's 3 weeks.
it's 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
Should be good. I would think that'd be enough time.
Anybody else?
Because then if not, then we're at
The 24th.
yeah, right. It would have to be the 24th then, if it's not the 10th. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine. That would give us some motivation to get some names circulated
Yeah.
and make a few contacts if any 5 of us
But you're
know
talking,
people.
you weren't talking about a full board. You said only a couple members.
No, what we'll most likely do, I can't remember how we had to post the meeting in the past. I can't remember what the logistics of posting it were.
I can take
We can do that.
Okay. But we usually, I think in this case, we have a community relations committee now, which includes myself and Karen. So it would make sense that we go through that community relations committee as part of this group, unless anybody else wants to come and has an objection to that.
Yep, we'll take care of posting it and notifying the trustees and the fire folks. And of course, that's a public meeting, of course, too. Anybody.
It's a
can
public
come.
meeting,
Yeah, so,
So if we put that, make it basically a committee meeting,
a work session, or
Work
committee
session.
meeting,
Yeah.
yeah, either one, yeah.
that works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Why don't we do the 10th, and then we might need another one in March even.
Okay.
Maybe we need a couple of those.
February 10th and at 7 PM here?
7 PM here.
In
Patty, are
DLC.
you okay with that one? Okay. All right.
7 p.m.
The only other thing I have is that I think it's very important that all 5 of us as board members work together towards the levy. I know, Josh, you were opposed to the amount and all of that. But we are in the position we're in where we require the money, and the majority of the board has put our trust in Dr. Mike and Dr. Patty and the information that not only they came up with, but we brought in an outside consulting firm who had the same information and additional stuff. And, I mean, you were part of hiring them and hiring the consulting group. I think we all need to work together and support this. Because if we can't show support for it, how can we expect the community to get behind it and understand what's actually needed?
Are there any other comments? Or,
Should we have a central point where people can, board members or Dr. Mike, if Dr. Mike doesn't want to be involved at this level, at least one of us, and I don't mind doing it, but we need to have some coordination of if someone's interested in doing the chair of the committee, or maybe it goes to you guys since you're, all right, so we're going to
he's
direct.
chair. Mhm.
You're chair. Okay, so if I have.
Jonathan Swift.
So if I have.
president and vice president.
Right, yeah, there you go. All right, so that's easy. So if I have names, I'm just gonna shoot them to you, say, hey, they expressed an interest, they're gonna call you, or you call them.
Yeah, that sounds good. We can do that.
All right.
I'm wondering if maybe, I don't see anything wrong with also setting up it won't be a Marlington email, but we'll set up an email address. Ben can help me, or Eric Siders, that's strictly for the levy. Here's where you send your levy questions. And then
Well, now-
somebody,
Now, can we do that on school time or with
You
school?
can't.
I didn't think so.
not on school time.
Okay.
So it's totally independent of the school district. It's not a school email.
Okay.
It's more belongs to the levy committee.
Okay.
And Ben will help me, we can set that, Ben and I will do it after hours, we'll set up, or Ben will do it after hours. Takes 2 seconds to set up a Gmail account.
And I don't want to downplay this either. It's important that the public know that we cannot, as a board or as a school district, spend public money on levy campaign activities. So we can't pay for flyers to go out. That money all has to be raised by an independent committee and done by them. So it really limits what we can do. We can give you factual information about the need for the levy, what we spend money on, what we're going to spend money on, what we no longer spend money on that we should be spending money on. But when it comes down to the campaign, it's important the public knows that there are no school finances that are put towards the campaign.
Good, well said, well said.
Absolutely. Are there any other discussion points?
Quickly, could I ask, since I'm still fairly new, does anyone know, was there a committee in place? Is there a committee? Is there any money left in the coffers? That might be something maybe.
There was an account years ago,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I'd have, I don't know where it is, or if it's in limbo.
Might have to start from scratch then.
Might have to start from scratch.
And-
There was a recurring campaign when we were looking to, for the consolidated buildings, so there.
Yeah, but that's a whole different,
Yeah.
that's a whole different
Yeah.
campaign, whole different program that we chose not to go with, so. The other thing that I have in regards to the levy, I mean, I think that, and I've been asked this by several people, is what are the consequences of not passing this levy? What's that gonna start to look like? We only have about 110 days before that election comes up. And obviously, if that does not pass, we need to be able to tell people, this is what it's going to mean ahead of time. I don't want to surprise anybody. It sounds like financially, everything's going to be on the table. But I think Dr. Mason had asked at one point in time to see what cuts we could make if we had to cut $2.5 million out of the budget. I think it's a realistic time for us to go back and look at that so that we can share that with residents and citizens and say, it's going to cost you $22 a month if you have a valuation of $100,000. It's about $22 more a month. And that goes towards this. And if it doesn't pass, here's what we're going to have to do. Is that something you guys could pull together in the next month?
Oh, absolutely.
Or even before that?
Before then.
The meeting on the 10th? I think that would be a good time to have that and share that with the trustees and the other community leaders.
I think we have that sort of in place. Let us do this, does this make sense, prioritize that for you? So here would be the first tier, here's the second tier. But if you're talking 2.5 million, here's what it would look like.
Yeah, and I know that, in some cases, districts will cut busing or extracurricular activities, and those things. I don't know that we're there yet. We've got to get this levy passed so we don't have to worry about that stuff. But those are the kind of things we're going to be looking to, have to make hard decisions on in the next 6 months.
When would the next opportunity be if the levy isn't successful to put it on the ballot again?
Well, November, correct? November.
But we have a renewal coming in November.
Which we really would like to put on in November, correct?
My concern with, and I think it's a good idea to present all those numbers and cuts and things to the community leaders, because we do need them to rally behind us. But I don't want to jump the gun either and take the wind out of the sails of any chairman. I guess I'm looking at doing more of a positive campaign. This is where we're going. This is what we need to get you there. And maybe, once we have our chairman start discussing how we want to proceed with presenting the information, Because we all know that you can present the factual information, and there is one segment that will take it as a threat, and another one that will look at it as, okay, this is serious stuff, we really need to look at it. But so there's got to be a way to inform both segments without turning one group off. And I think we need to, if we're going to have chairmen come in, we need to work with them in how because they'll be from the community and be out there, they need to be comfortable with the avenue we go with. But
No, I understand. I think that's their prerogative to go that direction and focus on a campaign, but I'm saying we're 6 months away from having to make some really tough decisions. I'd like to start knowing what that's going to be.
oh, I agree. We need to
That's
know
all.
that, and I think presenting that to the trustees is not a bad idea, having it ready for that February 10th meeting. I would have whoever our committee chairmen are really work with us on exactly how we want to disseminate some of that information.
And
Maybe not all of it.
On that point, the trustees do get questions, and I'm sure everybody talks to the various trustees. They do get asked because they are leaders of their communities.
Well,
so
they're
they get
asking.
Yeah.
They're already asking.
Yeah, they're already
What are the cuts? So I think we need to answer those questions.
right.
So I guess I agree with you, Jonathan, to a point. How's that?
Thanks, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or discussion points? Okay, move on to new business. Go ahead, Dr. Mike.
Okay. Let's see here. Probably 1 and 2 will need a vote on each of these separately. I'm recommending the motion to raise classified subpay to $9.30 an hour, effective January 1st, 2022. And this is a really good example. We're under hundreds of unfunded mandates. This one, minimum wage was raised, so we can't pay anybody less than minimum wage. So I believe this now is the current minimum wage. So we don't have any choice. So that's my recommendation on that one.
So moved.
Second.
Jonathan, second. What's the current subpay?
The teacher subpay is right now $100 a day.
But this is classified.
This is classified subpay.
What is it currently?
The current classified?
Yeah.
It depends on does it
Was
depend
the
on?
minimum wage.
Were they all minimum wage, but custodians was a little bit more?
Bus drivers
Yeah.
are a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah,
Custodians get a little bit.
get a little bit more. So this would be just for the minimum wage people.
Right.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries?
Yes.
Mrs. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Passed, 5-0.
Then the next one, however you'd like to do this, if you want to do a first reading tonight, and then this would go right in the book of the other ones for second reading. I had mentioned to all of you that this particular policy did give the board a whole lot of leeway. And if you looked at the policy, we could choose lots of things. So I worked with Neola, some neighboring school districts, and then a not-so-neighboring school district. It's called social media, but it's not really it's schools, I guess it's called school-sponsored publications and productions. It has a lot to do with what we're going to allow to be posted. And obviously, we want to be pretty free within reason with, there's a class play and mom wants to post that on Facebook and things like that. So you have there what I chose there in cooperation with others. But again, if you want to do a first reading tonight, then this will go right in with second readings, or if you want more time on this one, that's fine too.
I want to go with another motion to send this one to committee.
Okay.
I'm a little confused because it's up here at the top on the group we've already sent to committee, and then it's also down here on the bottom.
Did it end up in the list?
It
It
did.
should have been out of the list.
Nope, it was in there. So as long as-
5722?
Yep, it's there.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, but as long as we're sending all of these to committee, and it was pretty extensive and a lot of,
Yeah,
lot of red.
one's-
So
yeah.
I would say let's let our policy committee take a
Okay,
look at it and
okay.
then bring it in with the rest of them.
Okay.
Okay. So that's a motion to postpone this. Is there a second?
To send it to committee.
To send it to committee.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Passed 5-0.
And then number 3 there, this does not need a motion or a vote. To do the calendar now in Ohio, I have to present you with the draft, and then we'll post the draft, and the community and you have a month to look at the draft. And then prior to next board meeting, 15 minutes prior, we have what we call a public hearing, which just means anybody can come and make comments on the calendar. It doesn't mean that you have to change it, or, but if anybody has questions, they can contact me ahead of time. These are pretty well thought out. And as you know, our calendar at Marlington's a little bit unique, and we like that. I don't have any problem with it, with starting after Labor Day. So this is what we put into place.
Okay.
Okay?
I just had one question.
Okay?
And I feel silly asking this question, but what's a teacher exchange day?
So the teachers get, in their contract, they get some exchange time for like staying for parent-teacher conferences. So we have to compensate them somehow for that.
Okay, so are those days off?
Yeah, so the state allows you to count those as school days, which is kind of dumb because we're under hours now. But that's what we call those exchange days.
Oh, okay.
So they've put in their time all evening, several evenings for parent-teacher conferences, so then eventually they get a day off. But those by law, you're allowed to count as a school day because there was time put in for school.
School work.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just a regular old, correct me if I'm wrong, teacher planning day, those don't count as a student day.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
So the kids are still in school on those days?
No, the kids are not in school on the exchange days.
Dr. Mike, where would the community go to see the draft calendar?
We'll put it tomorrow, I'll put it up on the, I didn't want to put it up without presenting it to the board first, so tomorrow it'll be under calendar or proposed calendar.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All
Treasurer's
right.
agenda?
Thank you. The first item on the treasurer's agenda is to approve the minutes from December 16th and also the organizational meeting on January 6th, as well as the special meeting on January 6th. And I need to change both of those dates to 22 as they are listed there.
Yes. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of December 16th, 2021, the special meeting of January 6th, 2022, and the organizational meeting of January 6th, 2022?
So moved?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Mr. Swift?
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries?
Yes.
Mrs. Krupko?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Passed 5-0. The next item on the agenda for the treasurer's items is the financial report. And as monthly, you receive, of course, the reconciliation with our cash account, our bank account, and also a check pay and a fin sum.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the financial reports and overview of receipts and expenditures for the period ending December 31st, 2021?
So moved.
Second.
And discussion?
I will be abstaining because of a reimbursement I received in this this round from an expense back in November that I fronted for this school.
Okay.
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
I did.
Oh, thank you. Do you need me to go over these, or are you good?
Yeah, why don't you highlight some things?
Okay.
Anything that you think is important?
That would be good. If you look at the check pay, it's pretty normal. We do have our last payment to Plug Smart, so that will finish up our upgrade for the elementary buildings. We have a couple of these that are ESSER funds. For example, our software that we purchased for remote learning and for the classroom. Nothing else it really sticks out unless you have questions. If you look at the last one, this is the FinSum, and if you look at the first one, this is your general fund going across the top. And I always take a look at the month-to-date expenditures versus the month-to-date receipts, as well as just look at the fiscal year-to-date versus the fiscal year-to-date expenditures. That is the second and the fourth, the third and the fifth rows.
So the bottom line, our unencumbered fund balance right now is 6.4
Yeah.
million
0.1 unencumbered,
unencumbered, okay.
yes. We do have some contracts and POs out there, yes,
Okay.
correct.
Any other discussion?
I just want to thank your staff because I did call with a bunch of questions today and they were outstanding in answering questions. So thank you.
I have a good staff.
You do, and you finished answering the ones that they couldn't answer for me when I got here, so I do appreciate it.
Okay, you can call the roll?
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Mrs. Krupko,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Abstain.
passed 4-1. The next item on the treasurer's agenda is to establish a new fund. This is a 587 fund, which makes it a federal fund. We received some ESSER, ARP, early childhood funds, and this will be in the amount of $7,001. Those will go for our preschool special ed or special needs students.
And it needs to be in a special fund just because it's a federal fund? It needs to go in that 500 classification?
Yes, federal funds are all 500. We do not have, at this time, one set up for early childhood.
Okay.
So is there a motion to establish the Fund 587 ARP Early Childhood Special Education in the amount of $7,001?
So moved.
Second.
Sorry.
That's right. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Krupko,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
passed 5-0. The next item on the agenda is a revision of our revenue and appropriations. And as you can see, we can look at the revenue. Oh, go ahead. Motion, no.
Oh. Is there a motion to approve the amended revenue and appropriations as presented in Exhibits I and J?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Go ahead, Patty.
Thank you. As you can see, there's a revision to our revenue as well as our appropriations. The revenue, we added some $75,000 to our food service, And when you get to our appropriations, you'll see that appropriated back out. The reason is, again, this year, we have free breakfast and lunch, and so we have received some revenue in for that, but it will go back out to pay for, of course, food for the students for those breakfasts and lunch. An additional one is, the next one is for, where is that? I'm gonna have to, these get littler all the time. 007 is special trust. We've had another donation for a scholarship this year, so we're just accounting for that revenue coming out in. The next one is, I talk about this a lot, Fund 467, which is a student wellness and success. This is our health and wellness fund that we have used for counselors, et cetera. So this needs to be taken back out because we will not get an allocation for that this year. That is now rolled into the funding. So the next one is just updating and aligning some of our federal programs. You'll see that ARP, ESSER, special ed, we received $94,000 for that, and we received that $7,001 that you just established a fund for. The appropriations piece, at the beginning of the year on our revenue, we cut our revenue $2.6 million because of the funding formula that we knew was rolling in. We're now starting to see those pieces and parts coming in on our foundation, and ODE is starting to even those up. And so you will see that we are taking out 1.2 from our appropriations, which is our open and rolled out previously, because that no longer comes out. We're funded by students that come to this district. Again, I spoke about the food service, 75,000 added there. The next one is our student success and wellness funds. You'll see that we had actually wanted to spend the 500,000, but we had to reduce that a bit because I spoke that last year we didn't use all our funds, so we were able to roll those over. So now we're appropriating them. So this year, even though we won't get any, we're still spending from last year. Okay.
Sorry, going back to the food service budget, has there been an increase in costs as well, inflationary like everything else?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are seeing inflationary costs in many of our expenses, our supplies, our fuel, our food. And if you have no other questions, then that pretty much sums it up.
Any other questions? Okay, call the roll, please.
Okay. Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Mrs. Krupko,
Yes.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
passed 5-0. The next item, I have a lot of items today, is our alternative tax budget. This is basically moving forward on, we're asking the county to provide us with our taxes. And then we break that budget down according to what we have forecasted in the general fund as well as other funds to show them our need. It looks a little odd because we work in fiscal years, whereas this works in calendar years. So you'll see that it doesn't always look like it lines up, but it gets there. Okay?
So we need to adopt this?
Yes.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the let me see where we are, alternate tax budget?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Mrs. Krupko.
Yes.
Passed 5-0. The next item is our donations. And I would like to thank Paul and Mary Beth Buck, donated $100 to Marlington High School. Kathy Krupko, $40 to Marlington High School Horticulture, as well as Sally Schatz donated money to the Mather Educational Fund. And this is from a group, a local group that has disassembled. So they're dispersing their funds.
Yes, okay. So is there a motion to approve the donations for January 2022 as presented in Exhibit L?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Our thanks to those who donated. Appreciate that. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Mrs. Krupko,
I'll abstain since I'm on the list.
and Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Passed 4-1.
Personnel, Dr. Mike.
Okay, good evening again, everybody. These are all essentially hires, so if everybody's okay, we can have one vote on these. And then I will go through these for you. So I'm recommending we hire Phil Morrow, high school ESSER tutor. So we had a high school tutor position that completely went unfilled. I think we had one applicant and they got a job somewhere else. So Phil is willing to take that job. We have a classified hire, Mackenzie Showalter, athletic secretary. Classified sub, many of you know Linda Carnes. She worked for us in cafeterias for years. She's going to sub for us. My administrative assistant, as you know, is going on leave. So we have Sarah Milosevic that will be filling in for Nicole while Nicole's on leave. Our first non-traditional, remember the non-traditional subs, they don't necessarily have a bachelor's degree, but I've cleared them to sub for us in this shortage. We have two of those, David Swisher and Joseph Nave. And transfer of certified staff. So just so you're in the loop, Alyssa Hattery was a tutor for us, but because of our Lexington kindergartens, we're approaching 30 in each kindergarten. Can you imagine having 30 kindergartners? We had to open another kindergarten. So there's no change in budget, it's the same pay, but we're moving Alyssa from tutor to teacher. So that has to be board approved. Supplemental staff hires, you have staff there. And I do want to note, because it is Stark County, not that one is more important than the other, but I am asking you to hire Phil Morrow as our head football coach. As you know, Coach Gouling stepped down, and Coach Morrow has a stellar reputation in Stark County and around the state. So I think we'll be pleased. He's very happy to come here, and we're happy to have him. So, and among our other folks that for mostly athletics there. And then I need to recommend, and you've all been on the board before, you know this happens. People vacate jobs sometimes during the season and so on and so forth. So how we shook out Rob Motz and Marcus Lambden will be moving from 0.5 of a wrestling stipend to 0.75. And then on the previous hires, you have our volunteer, Chris Porter. He'll get a half a stipend. And I think you all know these folks end up putting in all the time anyway. So we're very thankful to have the extra support for our young people. So those are my recommendations for personnel for you.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept the recommendations for personnel?
So moved.
Second. I have a question on, I know you've explained this numerous times, but the ESSER funds that are funding this tutor position, this is going to be a 3-year, the ESSER funds will be here for 3 years for that position?
Well, this
Before we
is-
have to bring it in-house?
Well, they would be. This is just this year. Then next year we'll evaluate. Do we need 3 kindergartens? So this particular one, or any of these are just.
No, I'm
the
talking
year.
about the tutor.
Oh, the tutor? Yeah.
tutor position.
Those would be, yeah, I mean, I don't want to overstep Patty, but 3 years at the most, correct?
Correct.
I want to add on to Mark's question. Is that going to be covered by the funding that's required for learning loss of the ESSER money, or is that besides that, you know?
Go
Want me
ahead.
to take that?
Yeah.
All of our tutors work one-on-one or one-to a smaller group, and so that will be addressing any learning loss due to the COVID-19 remote learning situation for kids. So yes, we can count that.
But the ESSER teacher as well, or just the ESSER tutors would be covered under learning loss?
We can. I think we're going to have enough without that, but yes.
Okay.
You know, to spread kids out and to give them more individual attention. And, you know, kindergartners coming in, some of them, we're hearing all over the place that, you know, some of them are starting a year later because of the COVID situation. So, you know, we don't know if they were able to go to preschool. So yes, we could count that towards learning loss.
I'm sorry, explain the kindergarten thing to me again. Why?
Well, Lexington, well, all of our schools, but Lexington more, sometimes we get kids that enroll later.
Okay,
So we had we were big to begin with, the 2 kindergartens we opened at the beginning of the year.
Right.
But then so many kids enrolled, we were like, I think 28 and 29 in those.
At
because-
Lexington.
At Lexington, because kids kept enrolling. And at first, we thought this young lady could just kind of tutor and help back and forth. That's not good for kindergartners.
we didn't have enough opportunity for intra-district transfers or?
Well, we
But
looked at.
Marlboro was
yeah.
low
No,
on numbers
Marlboro,
at.
wasn't Marlboro high too?
I think all of our, which is good, I believe
Okay.
we decided we couldn't do that or transfer those.
Okay,
Yeah, we always try to look at that
okay,
and offer that, so.
okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Mrs. Krupko,
Yes,
passed 5-0.
Okay, so meeting announcements. We will have an informational meeting on February 10th at 7 PM here at the DLZ. We will be inviting township officials and area legislatures also to discuss the levy. That will be a public meeting. And our next Board of Education meeting will be February 17th, 2022, 7 PM in the high school DLZ right here.
And if I could add, then at 6:45, we'll put on the announcement, the calendar hearing, only one board member is required to be me, and there has to be at least one board member here, and most of you here early anyway.
Okay. So then we'll need a motion to go to executive session for the Marlington Local School District Board of Education to recess into executive session pursuant to revised code 121.22G1 to consider the employment or evaluation of a public employee, and G5 for matters required to be kept confidential by federal law, federal rules, or state statutes. All matters discussed in this executive session are designated to the public officials and employees as confidential pursuant to revised code 102.03B because of the status of the proceedings and/or the circumstances under which the information will be received, and preserving its confidentiality is necessary to the proper conduct of government business. Following executive session, no action is expected. Motion?
So move.
second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mrs. Krupko,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Mr. Swift,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
So time in is 8:04. Okay. All right. We came out of executive session at 10:55 PM, and I'll take
55.
9:50.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness, it's not that late. Okay, and I'll have, does someone have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
Call the roll, please. Somebody.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Krupko,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
and Mr. Swift.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
Item
you.
is adjourned. Thank
night.
you, everybody.
I'd really like to get Karen a
All
gavel.
right, very good.
I think we might have
Need a
one.
gavel?
Let me look.
I would.